The Ugly Duckling. Once upon a time, there was a duck. She lived on an islet in the middle of a lake surrounded by tall poplars. Not only did many duck families live on the lake, but also swans, frogs, and fish. The duck couldn't wait to have her own family. She would often dream of what it would be like swimming with a bunch of little ducklings trailing behind her. She sat on her eggs and waited impatiently for them to hatch. Soon, a tapping sound started coming from inside the eggs. One by one, the eggs started cracking, and tiny beaks started to push themselves out into the world. Mama Duck cheered them on with loud, excited quacking. 6 eggs hatched, and the ducklings waddled back and forth, yellow like 6 shiny suns. Each one was prettier than the next. They were very impatient and excited to see what was beyond the reeds. But Mama Duck would stop them with her beak when the curious little ones got too close to the edge. She waited nervously for the 7th egg to hatch. It was somewhat larger than the other 6, and the duckling didn't seem to want to come out. After a while, she heard tapping sounds again. First, a little crack appeared, and then the whole egg cracked open as a head forced its way out. This head was bigger than the others and grey like ashes. The duckling tumbled out of his egg, and they saw that he was chubby, clumsy, and stodgy, and had no trace of yellow feathers. As soon as the other ducklings learned to speak, they started to mock their grey brother. They told him he was ugly. Mama Duck just sighed and hoped he would eventually turn yellow and look like the others. When old Mrs. Goose swam by, she gabbled loudly. "How pretty they are! Except that last one, he's ugly. You'd better get rid of him, Mrs. Duck." "No way! I don't care if he's grey. He's mine. Someday he'll be pretty," Mama Duck said. The duckling sighed sadly and walked toward the others with his head bent. He was already too used to hearing such words. Every time they crossed the yard, all the animals laughed at the duckling, poking him and teasing him. One day, the duckling couldn't stand it any longer, so he headed to the bushes and hid there, knowing that he'd rather be alone. The duckling was very upset about being so ugly. Every time he looked at his reflection in the lake, he saw a grey, chubby, ugly duck. He walked sadly along the lake when suddenly he came across a family of wild ducks. The duckling wanted to join them as they were as grey as he was. They greeted him warmly, without a thought to the fact that he was ugly. The duckling became friends with them, and they started to swim around and take little trips on the lake together. One day, the wild ducks took off for a long flight to the south. The sky wasn't as sunny anymore, and the leaves were slowly disappearing and floating about through the air. Every day, the wind grew stronger. The duckling didn't dare fly so far, and so he stayed by the lake with the other animals. He missed his friends, and he started to feel ugly and misunderstood again. The days grew colder and rainier. One day, the rain began slashing down on the feeble shelter he had built for himself. Going back to the yard wasn't an option, though. He couldn't stand to hear any more mocking. Soon, a cruel winter came. Snow swirled through the air. The wind was cold, and the ugly duckling shivered all over. He snuggled up in the bushes and almost felt like he would freeze when, suddenly, a farmer walked by. He saw the poor, stiff little duckling on the ground, so he picked him up, wrapped him in a blanket, and took him home. The farmer gave him food and water and sat him by the oven, and the children started playing with him. It was warm by the oven, and the duckling felt alive again. Then one of the children proposed that they play a hunting game. The duckling got so scared that he ran away, escaping through an open window in the bedroom. It was freezing cold outside, and the duckling couldn't walk in the deep snow. He hid in a cave nearby filled with whistling bats. After a while, the sun started shining a little more every day, and nature began to wake up again. The ugly duckling didn't want to spend all his time in the cave anymore, and he started to search outside for food. One day, he was swimming on a lake and met a family of swans. They were beautiful, with long white necks, and they swam gracefully in a group. "They're going to laugh at me for being ugly," the duckling thought, and started to swim away. "Hey, why don't you swim with us?" one of the swans called out to. The duckling couldn't believe his ears. "Why do you want to be friends with me?" he asked suspiciously. "Are you going to laugh at me for being ugly? I'd rather be alone." "You're not ugly. Look at your reflection," the swan said. The duckling hesitated and then looked at the water. He couldn't believe his own eyes. He wasn't an ugly grey duckling anymore. He was a beautiful white swan. Excited, he joined the other swans and swam with them toward the shore, where a group of children were playing. One of them looked at the swans and shouted, "Look, look, there's a new swan on the lake, and it might be the prettiest of them all." The young swan swam proudly on the lake, feeling like the happiest bird in the world. And from that moment on, whenever he saw a young animal who didn't fit in, he made sure to be kind and tell them that they too were special.
In a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, there lived a little girl named Luna. Luna had always been fascinated by the stars. Every night, she would sit by her window, gazing up at the sparkling sky, wondering what it would be like to touch one. One chilly autumn night, Luna noticed something different. A soft, gentle glow was shining from her garden. She tiptoed outside and found a small twinkling star among the leaves. It was dim and trembling, like a tiny bird falling from its nest. "Oh, you poor thing," Luna whispered, cradling the star in her hands. It was warm, and its light pulsed faintly. "What are you doing here, so far from the sky?" The little star seemed to understand her, giving a tiny shiver as if it were sad. Luna felt a pang in her heart. She decided she would help it find its way home. She gently wrapped the star in her scarf and set off through the village, determined to find someone to help. First, she went to the wise old owl who lived in a hollow tree. "Mr. Owl, do you know how to help a lost star?" she asked, holding the star close to keep it warm. The owl blinked kindly. "Little one, the journey to return a star is long and hard. It must climb the tallest mountain and find its way to the sky, but it will need a friend to keep it safe along the way." Luna's eyes shone with determination. "Then I'll go with it." So, with the star wrapped in her scarf and Mr. Owl's advice in her heart, Luna set off toward the mountain, carrying her tiny friend close. The journey was hard. The nights were cold and the path was steep, but Luna never let go of the little star. She told it stories to make it brave and hummed lullabies to keep it calm when the wind howled. She even shared her food, though the star seemed to glow a little brighter every time Luna showed kindness. Finally, after days of walking, they reached the top of the mountain. There, in the dark sky, Luna could see the star's family twinkling brightly above. The star quivered in her hands as if it knew it was time to say goodbye. Luna felt her heart ache. "You'll be happy up there," she whispered, even though the thought of letting it go made her eyes fill with tears. With a gentle toss, Luna lifted the star toward the sky. For a moment it hung there, flickering, and Luna thought she saw it twinkle in thanks. Then, with a flash of light, it soared upward, back to where it belonged, joining the stars that watched over her each night. Luna made her way back down the mountain, her heart both heavy and light. She had given up something precious but felt a joy she had never known before. That night, when she looked up at the sky, she saw a star shining just a little brighter than all the others. And she knew, deep down, that her friend was watching over her too. From then on, whenever Luna looked at the stars, she remembered the journey and felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that sometimes, the most precious gift you can give is letting go.
Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a nice little burrow under a big fir tree.
"Now, my dears, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there, and I don't want you to get into trouble."
"But I want to go to the garden. I want to see the vegetables."
"No, Peter. Stay away from that garden."
But Peter was very naughty. He did not listen to his mother. He ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden.
"Oh, look at all the carrots and cabbages. They all are so beautiful.
I'll show those rabbits. They think they can eat my
Just then,
vegetables.
Peter heard Mr. McGregor coming.
Oh no! I must hide.
You pesky rabbit, I will kill you.
Peter ran as fast as he could, but Mr. McGregor saw him. At last, Peter found a way out. He squeezed through a hole in the fence and ran home as fast as he could.
Thank God I am safe.
Peter, where have you been? I was so worried.
I went to Mr. McGregor's garden, but I'm sorry, Mother. I won't do it again.
You must always listen to me, Peter.
Did you get into trouble, Peter?
You're lucky to be back.
We were worried about you.
I learned my lesson. No more sneaking into gardens.
And so, Peter Rabbit learned to listen to his mother. He never went back to Mr. McGregor's garden again.
In a small village nestled in the rolling hills of a distant land, there lived a young shepherd named Alex. Alex was responsible for watching over a flock of sheep that grazed in the nearby pastures. One sunny afternoon, as Alex was lazily watching his sheep, he thought it would be funny to cry out for help. "Wolf! Wolf!" he shouted at the top of his lungs. "The wolf is attacking my sheep." The villagers who were busy with their daily chores heard Alex's cries and immediately dropped what they were doing to rush to his aid. They ran as fast as they could, their hearts racing with worry, only to find Alex laughing and his sheep peacefully grazing. "What's going on here?" one of the villagers asked, out of breath. "We thought the wolf was attacking your sheep." Alex grinned mischievously. "Oh, I was just joking," he said. "There's no wolf." The villagers scolded Alex for his prank, but he just shrugged it off. "What's the big deal?" he said. It was just a joke. But Alex didn't learn his lesson. A few days later, he cried out again, "Wolf! Wolf! The wolf is attacking my sheep." And again, the villagers rushed to his aid, only to find that it was another false alarm. This happened several times, and each time, the villagers came to Alex's aid, only to find that he was lying. They began to lose trust in him, and soon, they stopped believing his cries for help. One day, disaster struck. A wolf really did appear, and it began to attack Alex's sheep. Alex cried out for help, but the villagers, remembering his past pranks, didn't believe him. "We're not falling for that again," one of them said. "You're just trying to trick us." But Alex was telling the truth this time. The wolf was real, and it was devouring his sheep. Alex tried to chase it away, but it was too powerful. In the end, the wolf killed many of Alex's sheep, and he was left to face the consequences of his own actions. He had lied so many times that no one believed him when he told the truth. As the villagers helped Alex bury his dead sheep, one of them turned to him and said, "You should have thought of this before you lied to us all those times. Now, your sheep are dead, and you've lost our trust." Alex hung his head in shame, knowing that he had learned a valuable lesson. From that day on, he made a promise to himself to always tell the truth, no matter how hard it might be. And so, the story of the liar shepherd serves as a reminder to us all of the importance of honesty and trustworthiness. When we lie, we risk losing the trust of those around us.